Good morning and welcome to Ask the Expert. I'm Joe Taylor. This morning, another in the ongoing series of programs presented by the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning. The program, through the Northwest Institute of Research, oversees a grant from the Office of Child Development and Early Learning at the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services and the Department of Education. The goal of the program is to improve the outcomes for young children as they prepare for school. John Poza from the Pennsylvania Key is the host of the program and is with us throughout the series. John, who do we have on the line this morning?
Good morning, Joe. This morning we have children's author Cynthia Post of Dallas, Pennsylvania. For those who aren't familiar with where Dallas is, it's in Luzerne County. And Cynthia has a very, very interesting story to tell. She is the creator of what's called the Carrie Flower Book and Teaching Series that helps deliver a message, especially to children. Carrie Flower is actually a fictional, bright and vibrant blossom that knows how to enjoy life with all the other plants in the garden by having a healthy mind, body, and spirit. Welcome to the program, Cynthia.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm excited to share my stories with you.
Yes, I've heard so much about Carrie Flower and the series and the success of it. And for our listeners who may not be familiar with how this all developed, why don't you explain to us how it took place and how it took off?
Well, I was a marketing public relations person and was in my almost 50, and I had the unfortunate experience of having breast cancer. And during my recovery, I decided that I wanted to do more of my life purpose. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I wanted to find a life coach. And I couldn't find a life coach, so I decided to become a life coach. I went to all the courses and finished that. And it was there that I went to a leadership group in California for 1 year. It was outside of San Francisco in the Redwoods. And I met a whole bunch of different plants and flowers there, 28-year-old Californian to a 64-year-old Canadian. And I found one girl to be particularly interesting. Carrie Flower was her name. And she always answered questions in such a unique way. One being the leader asked, "What's your definition of a leader?" And she said, "Spreading seeds along the way." And I told her at the end of the first session that she inspired me, and she suggested, "Why don't you write a children's book about me?" So I did, and I made her a sunflower, and I took it back just for the group to be fun, and they said, "Write more." So the second book I wrote about the leadership group, and the third book I wrote about a little girl that really did have a trouble living. It was my daughter, the illustrator's niece. So I wrote about her, Kate. And I guess all the stories are really about my life journey and some of the things that I've overcome obstacles, and I wish that, I tried to instill those values in my children and now my grandchildren, and I wanted to encourage everyone to see that no matter how tough the situation is or how dark a situation might be, you can always find the light and grow through it and develop to who you're supposed to be.
That's such a fantastic message. And obviously, your series teaches children as well as their parents about empathy and the importance of supporting rather than shying away from those in need.
Right.
And the other message that I know that it sends is it's almost it's of diversity, and how important it is to appreciate the diversity in people, especially in young children. That, as you say, people are just like flowers. We come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, right?
That's correct. And in the garden, some flowers, prick, and some flowers have big smells, and some flowers grow together. But if you get to know them, the pricky flowers, the rose, has that to protect its delicate petals, and the flowers that grow together aren't necessarily talking about the other flowers. That's how they get their support. Everybody grows differently, and and uniquely. And if we empower people to grow to who they are with their strengths, and they develop the confidence, and they become beautiful flowers in our community. And it's so much easier to work with people that are empowered to be happy to who they are instead of shameful.
One of the things I want to let listeners know, for more information about these books in the series, there's a website. It's carrieflower.com. Is that correct?
That's true. Or Rich Soil, which is rich soil. You have to grow in rich soil.
Right.
So that's a responsibility of the community. But richsoilalliance.org. Either one of those will take you to the same website. We started a foundation, a nonprofit foundation, when I developed the program, because we also have a doll to go along with the book series. It's also made in Pennsylvania, handmade doll to support the learning.
The program that we're doing here, and we do every other week, is about early childhood learning. So usually we're talking about things like, pre-K and kindergarten and math, English school subjects. Your books are teaching empathy. How important is it, in your opinion, to teach a child empathy and tolerance? And when and how do we do that?
Well, I think that that's the core of a child's development, is understanding empathy. I think it will help them realize math and English, and if we could relate that to all the subjects and learning, I think that we'll have a stronger base for children to grow. Not everyone knows math, or will come to the math will come to them easily, or English will come to them easily. But if they have empathy for each other or for themselves, this is not a strong skill for me, but I've learned that I might just take a little bit longer. I might need to ask for a little bit of help, empathy on themselves or empathy with their classmate. I can help them with that because I understand that might be a strong suit for me, but it might be something that my friend, my classmate, is having a struggle with.
Well, empathy, obviously you used your own experience to emphasize the importance of empathy. And I believe you also had a mutual friend who also went through the similar experiences you did as well, right?
I did. My friend Donna had breast cancer, and she had trouble with people because she was very vivacious and outgoing. And when people would come to her and try to, when she had breast cancer, people would shy away, actually, from her. And that bothered her a lot. And she would get so mad. She would say, why do they do that? They make me feel like I'm X'd out of the community. And I said, Donna, it's just because they don't know what to say. And she said, it's rude. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to start new conversations about awkward situations that people kind of shy away from instead of lean into.
Yeah, as you said, Carrie's message, Carrie Flower, not only that like flowers, they come in all shapes, sizes, and colors, but through Carrie, what you call bouquets for brighter days, teach children that we shouldn't fear what makes us different. In other words, don't be afraid, be a friend.
Correct.
I wanted to help illustrate your series. So you take Carrie Flower and you develop different scenarios in different books as part of a teaching series. And so from what I see, for instance, as part of the Book for a Brighter Day, you have Carrie being involved in different types of things like going to camp, going to the hospital, different types of things. How many do you have so far in that series?
Well, I have 3 in that series right now. I have 3 other books that are manuscripts that I'm hoping by 2017 they'll be published in books. They're just waiting to be illustrated. And I'm really excited to tell you that my books right now are the second edition. done all the illustrations and some of the wordings, and we have teacher books to go along with the series. So we're really excited to bring them out into the public and show them.
That's terrific. One of them, as I mentioned, is Carrie Goes to Camp. Tell us a little bit about how the teaching lesson in that book.
Well, Carrie Flower gets to camp, and she sees the plants and flowers are different from her, and she's really not sure that she made the right decision by allowing Mom to send her there. And she's judgmental about them. Nancy Daisy's lazy. Ruthie Rose is looking at her toes. And there's other plants and animals that have come to fun, like Big John, the lettuce head, and Strawberry Brian, because he has hair that's green. She thinks he's mean. And when she goes to bed, she has a stuffed animal that's always near her, which is Buzzy the Bee. And he reminds her to look at everyone in a different light, look at not so closely and judgmental, but in a different light, and maybe camp will be all right. So the next day she gets up and she discovers Nancy Daisy's far from lazy, and Ruthie Rose ends up to be her best friend, and John Lettucehead, she thinks he's pretty funny and likes him, and Strawberry Brian dances in the afternoon. So, just like all of our judgments when we meet new people, we have to understand why they are the way they are, and their uniqueness is beautiful for them.
One of the problems in our schools today is bullying, especially of kids who are different. Do you see your books as an effective tool in combating bullying, and are they being used in that way, anyway by any schools? And if not, do you think they should be?
Well, yes, I do think they're very effective in bullying, because once you understand somebody's differences, you have less of a tendency to make fun of them because you understand them. And we have started to use them in the Pittston area school district for bullying, and to talk about your feelings and not bring it as a negative, but bring it as a positive. Get to know other people and get to work through your fear of somebody that's different.
I was going to ask you, Cynthia, regarding the age range of the children that the book, because it applies to. So, for instance, and maybe adaptable in how it's in your teaching lessons and how it's done. So, for instance, how early or how young of a child is Carrie Flower presented, and how is it presented versus someone that maybe is in kindergarten?
Well, we have used them from birth up to third grade, and we have a unique opportunity where we train the interns in college or universities, and then they go out and teach the program to preschools up to third grade. And it's funny because even the college university students, I have to say, relate to the subject when we're reviewing it, because at the end of it, they have evaluation sheets, and they said, we even got to think about our own health, and have I been taking care of myself, or I was judgmental about a few other my former students in school, and I started thinking about maybe I should try to understand them. So that has been very beneficial even in the college level. But the children, of course, you have more smaller conversations with the children that are younger. But they do understand the conversation, and they will talk about differences when you bring the conversation up. And then the third graders were just as responsive to the conversation. Maybe it was a younger reading book, but you let them talk about who's different in your school. What were struggles that you had to overcome? Do you ever feel as though people have been judgmental about you? And they have great conversations. The interns were pleasantly surprised of how open the children were for that topic, all the topics.
I think it's great what you do, and I'm going to have you explain it about each bouquet, and especially when Carrie, and the story of Carrie going to the hospital. And tell us a little bit about how you work with hospitals and how the program works with when you present a bouquet to a child in a hospital.
Well, so when we first started with the program, as I said, I did it for my leadership group, and when I came back, we packaged all the 3 books together with the doll, and when we sold that bouquet, we gave a child in the hospital the same doll and the 3 storybooks. And so for every bouquet we sold, we gave one away. And it was hugely successful. Because of HIPAA laws and everything, I was never able to go in and give the dolls. So I just had to deliver the dolls to the entrance, and a caseworker came and got the dolls and inspected them and took them away. So I really never followed what happened to them because I couldn't. But it was hugely successful. Some people did find me and write great thank you notes and stuff. But we could no longer afford to sustain that giving to the hospital because nobody would pay for the cost of the bouquets to cover the cost of the doll going to the hospital. So we had to discontinue that part of the program, unfortunately. But not that I always have it in the back of my mind to bring it back some way.
Boy, it makes me want to get a fund drive going.
Yeah, exactly.
Back,
yeah.
In a world where increasingly, unfortunately, the difference in people is being exploited, but this is, they're hearing bigoted messages from politicians, the media, playmates, even parents. Isn't the idea that a mere book can change what these kids are learning and seeing elsewhere, isn't that a bit altruistic? I hope it works, but isn't it a steep climb?
It could be, but if we join together and we inspire one person to change their way of thinking or look at things for a different perspective, I think that's a positive stride. There's a lot of negative media, and there's a lot of negative conversation we could all have about it's hopeless, but I don't believe it is hopeless. I believe that every little flower or seed that we plant has the potential to grow and see the light and make a beautiful presence in the world.
Cynthia, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you an obvious question. Are you a gardener yourself?
I am.
I figured that would be the case.
I don't have very much time to garden because I'm planting other seeds, but I love gardening.
I figured that would be the case because it's all part of the picture, isn't it?
It is. But I'm always buying flowers and bringing them home.
Yeah. You reap what you sow, so to speak, and
that's
just
right.
And how a plant or vegetable turns out is all based on how you did as the person that actually provided the seed and nurtured it. So, big lesson there. The other thing that you're doing as well with kids, that to use Carrie Flower, is in with modern day pen pals, right?
Right. Well, that also didn't work out as well as we wanted it to because of HIPAA laws.
It's a shame.
What our intent was is we wanted to take somebody that maybe was lonely and in bed rest or at home and have them connect up and, report on each other's days. But because of HIPAA laws, they can't give us that. However, we do have a program that we're trying to implement at the schools for students that aren't able to get to school to remind the other students to reach out to them.
And can you remind our listeners again, for whether it's a school, preschool, anyone that may be interested in your series, where can they find more information?
If they go to www.richsoilalliance.org, or carrieflower.com.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about Rich Soil Alliance and how that's involved in what they do.
Okay, so Rich Soil Alliance, when we had Carrie Flower, we decided to make a nonprofit organization, as I told you, because of the giveaway and donation. Right. And we decided there was so much more than just, well, not so much, so much more we could do in addition to Carrie Flower. So we decided that we would call the organization Rich Soil Alliance. It's a 501c3, and its main purpose and mission is to improve the lives of children and their families through educational, through plays. We have scripts. So we have a little theater, a theater company in the area that actors act out the part, because who will listen to a lesson than their peers, the students at the schools or in the community. So we try to have programs like that. We are trying to have future programs where maybe we can go into nursing homes and connect the children with nursing homes and sing songs, or just bring the community back to realize that, you know, the more we take care of our community, the richer the soil is, and the better and happier everybody is. And if we're all happy, we have a healthier community to live and strive through. Absolutely.
And going way back to the beginning of our conversation, it really intrigued me about that leadership. I don't know if it was a retreat or a seminar that you attended in California. It sounded like a wonderful experience. Is that still ongoing?
It is. It is. All life coaches, coaching courses have that program. It was life-changing. It really was. It was, as I said, there was a 28-year-old Californian and a 64-year-old Canadian, and everybody in between. There were a lot of people from the West Coast. My friend that I went to visit in the Netherlands, Mona, Carrie Flower, that was from England, and all over. And just to hear different perspectives and work through life struggles together was just invaluable.
And what a setting.
Changed my life.
What a setting in the Redwoods, one of the most beautiful areas of the country. Very fond of the area. Well, we're up on the last minute of the program. Cynthia, tell us a little bit about what your plans are in the future for Carrie.
Well, as I told you, we're launching new books, which I'm really excited about. And we're going to be going to the Early Childhood Education Summit at Penn State. We have an exhibit booth, and we're speaking there. So I'm really excited about that. And we have an excited year planned at the Pittston School District to finish our obligation for the grant. And we are ready to get our other manuscripts into books and keep sharing our stories and hoping new lines of communication. Terrific
message about Carrie, and all the best to you. And thank you so much, and best of success in the future with Carrie Flower. It's just a wonderful program and series. And thanks for being on the program.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
And that's our program for today. We'll be back in 2 weeks at the same time. In the meantime, you can go online to learn more at papromiseforchildren.com. For John Posa and the Northwest Regional Key Program for Quality Early Learning, I'm Joe Taylor. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.